Hey guys, it's a new week at the Hyatt house and we are busy at work. So we are continuing to work on trim. You can see some baseboard behind me on the floor. That is the old baseboard that we took off way back when, and now it's finally going back on. And we're gonna work on this mantle sitting back here today too. So that's what we're doing at the Hyatt house. So Gio is putting the trim on this piece. You remember I told you that we were missing this little detail along the bottom. So we have 14 windows on this floor, and we had enough to do 11 windows with the old trim. So we had 11 of the pieces, but we were missing the little returns. So you see these little return pieces we're missing on a lot of them. So what we decided to do was use the old stuff in the main bedroom, in the 6 windows in here, and then use the original stuff on the 3 windows out in the hallway. So what we're gonna have to do is get David to come in and make us replicate this little piece for the second bedroom on the second floor. So we'll have original everywhere except for one room. So we sacrificed what we had left to finish these. And I think they really look nice. Let me show you one that doesn't have it. You can see the difference. We thought about, right, so there's one without that trim at the bottom. We thought about not putting it back on there because it looks fine without it. But then you see just how much better it looks with the trim. So we're gonna have to get some replicated to go in the other bedroom. The downstairs is different, so when we get down there, I'll show you why it's different. Let's talk baseboards. So I think I told you last week that most of the house had this old baseboard. You can see it here. And then on part of the house, somebody had gone back with a 1x, a bigger one, and put it in front of this baseboard. So we have, in a lot of places, we kept it where it is. In other rooms, we took it off. So we've got to obviously replace the base in here. Let's go upstairs. We'll talk more about baseboards. All right, so here's that small base. It is incorporated into the stairs, go into the second floor, and going to the third floor. So we don't have enough of this old stuff to do the whole house. So what we decided to do was make the ground floor and this landing our priority. Specifically the landing because, like I said, it's on the stairs going up and down. So we used the biggest pieces we had. We finished it on this landing. We're gonna use the next set of pieces to finish that parlor that I just showed you downstairs. Now that leaves the second bedroom and the main bedroom with nothing. But Jesus got some lumber and played around, and he was able to use the router and make us something very similar. It's not quite the same, but it's very similar. So we'll have new base in the main bedroom and the second bedroom. Now the third floor, the trim is completely different up there. So we're really treating that almost like a second project because the door and window trim is different and the base is different. So we're treating the first floor and the second floor as one piece, and then the third floor as something different. This afternoon, we're in Mrs. Hyatt's parlor and we're working on the mantle. This is the mantle that's going back here, but this plaster is thick and it's making the mantle not fit flush to the wall. So we're gonna get the grinder and we're gonna grind out a little bit so that we can get that flush so that we don't have like a 4-inch gap behind the mantle. Okay, so it's standing in place. We did trim off this plaster. It looks like tile, but it's really just plaster on that surround. This foot is damaged and you can see it's short right there. Initially, I thought we were gonna cut that one flush and cut this one over here flush with it. But if we did that, we were gonna be really encroaching on that surround. So we're gonna have to be creative. We're gonna have to do some type of toe mold or something around the bottom. And I don't know how we'll ever get that stain to match. We'll try, but we may have to paint it. So we're gonna have to be creative on that. Also, if we mounted this level, it looked ridiculously crooked. So once again, we have found that happy medium of not level, but looks level. So we're getting ready to mount it to the wall. And then the new challenge that we found is this plaster sticks out so thick that we're not gonna be able to tile over that because our tile would stick out further than our mantle. So we may have to bust all that plaster out. I don't know just yet, but that's our next challenge. All right, folks, it is with a heavy heart that I inform you that we have made the decision to cover up that brick. A lot has gone into the thought on this. Apparently not enough thought went into it on the front end. Number one, the brick is really ugly right at like the focal point above the mantel. Number two, we're gonna have to do a pretty hefty trim on the left, on the right, and across the top. And no matter what we put up there, whether we mimic this or we use window trim, it just really distracts from the mantel. And then I look across the way into that room, and that mantel just looks so pretty. It's the focal point of the room. And I realize that if I go in here, you're gonna be looking at the brick. So we have decided to cover up the brick. So everybody take one last look at the brick that's very cool, but just, it's gonna fight. I don't wanna take away from the mantel. The brick is no more. And I feel good about it. I think it was the right decision. We also got the baseboard in this half of the room. We're gonna wait because we'll have kitchen cabinets, so we'll just have a little bit over here and a little bit over here. Okay, so we're about halfway through the week at the Hyatt house. So far this week, we have had 3, not gonna call them problems. They were forced changes. We've had 3 forced changes. One you know about, that's that brick up there. We had to cover it up. Just didn't look the way we expected it to look. The other is across the way on that mantel, which we're not gonna be able to tile it the way we originally planned. And then late yesterday afternoon, I found out that the plan that I had for wallpaper in the powder room is not gonna work either. So that's okay. When things don't work out the way you planned, usually it's because there's a better option that you haven't found yet. So this option was covering it up. That option is still to be determined on that fireplace, and we have not hit a dead end on the wallpaper. So hopefully today though, we don't find any more forced changes. How about an update on our window trim on the second floor? So you remember we had this little trim piece. We were missing those returns on the sides. We had enough to do the main bedroom and the hallway and one window in the second bedroom. And then we had that piece replicated for these other 3 windows. And I think they're great. You know, I was really on the fence about, did they add anything? Is it worth it adding them? And then when I realized we had so many that we only needed 3 made, I knew it was the right call to just mimic that. So I think they look great. So the windows on the second floor are completely done. The doors on the second floor are completely trimmed out, and we're now getting ready to start ripping down that baseboard that I showed you. And I'm gonna show you how we're making those. I told you that we were going to replicate the baseboard for the few rooms that we didn't have enough. And here's a piece that Jesus just ran through the router. Of course, we're getting a coat of primer on another piece over there. He's getting ready to make another one. So I'm going to show you how it's done. First thing you saw him do was he ran it through the table saw and cut this little groove in, and then ran the router along the board to get us that curved edge. And that's it. We'll do a little sanding and then it goes over there for priming. All right, folks, we're on the 3rd floor and I want you to mark this down, record it for prosperity, because I'm going to admit right now, I made a huge mistake. But we're gonna fix it. All right, so when we started working on this house, the trim on the 3rd floor was different from the trim downstairs. It was just 1x. You've seen the gorgeous trim we have downstairs, and I didn't have more trim made because I thought I want to keep this the way it was when I bought it. I made a mistake. I wish I'd noticed and determined that I made a mistake earlier in the process, but we've trimmed out these 2 doors. We've trimmed out this closet door. We've trimmed out the bedroom door, and I don't like it. It looks dinky. It looks like new construction, and it just doesn't look special enough for this house. So even though we've bought the lumber and Giovanni has done such a good job trimming all these doors out, we're gonna take it down and we're going to have more of the trim from the 1st floor and the 2nd floor replicated, and we're gonna reframe these 4 doors. Thankfully, we haven't done the 4 windows yet. So we've got to get trim made and we've got to undo my mistake. Meanwhile, on the 2nd floor, that baseboard that we made that I showed you yesterday is going in. Got a little bit over here. Got the pieces cut, so we should knock out the main bedroom pretty quick. The discoveries just keep on coming. So we are in Mrs. Hyatt's parlor. We're getting ready to put the chair rail back up. Now, we have chair rail in the foyer. We had chair rail in the parlor. We will have it in the kitchen and the hallway. So we're sitting here, we're trying to find which piece goes to what. We labeled a lot of stuff, but we lost some labels. And we've discovered that the chair rail in the parlor is not the same as the chair rail in the hallway or in the kitchen and in the foyer. So now we're trying to figure all this out. And then we realize that the chair rail in the hallway on this side is not the same as on this side. How many days have I spent in this house? Nearly a year. And none of us have noticed until now that that chair rail and that chair rail are different. So now we're trying to figure out, were they different in some of these rooms? We've got lots of little pieces of this style, but that doesn't seem like it's enough to do the kitchen. But we don't have enough of this to do the parlor and the kitchen. And if we do 2 different chair rails, is anybody ever going to notice? Because we never noticed with these 2 this close to each other. This has been a strange week, y'all. I think it might be a full moon or something, because weird things are coming to light. So that's a wrap on this week. Come back next week and see if we've sorted out this chair rail situation. And check out what else is happening at the Hyatt house.